Zechariah, the Second Temple, the Messiah in Jesus Christ. In Numbers 12:3 we are told, "Now Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone on the face of the earth. God says of Moses, 'My servant Moses is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face and not in riddles. He sees the face of the Lord.'" In Deuteronomy 18:14-19 we further read, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. For this is what you asked of the Lord your God at Horeb, that is Mount Sinai, on the day of the assembly when you said, 'Let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, or we will die.' The Lord said to me," that is Moses, "What they say is good. I'll raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command you. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name." The words "let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, or we will die," imply that the Israelites were scared to face the true face of God, preferring to stay at the base of the mountain of godly enlightenment. It is left to Moses to bring the 10 Commandments to them on 2 stone tablets. It is left to the prophet to come to take them up the mountain to higher enlightenment. In Matthew 9:12-13, we hear Jesus proclaim to the Pharisees, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." These words are a clear reference to the prophet Hosea, where we are able to place them in their original context. In Hosea 6:7-8, God says to Isaiah, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice, an acknowledgement of God rather than burnt offerings. As at Adam they have broken the covenant. They were unfaithful to me there." In essence, these words place the Pharisaic understanding of Judaism at the base of God's mountain of enlightenment, which is ordained at restoring the covenant of Adam itself. This sets the law of Moses in context as one of a number of covenants in ongoing revelation leading up to the restoration of the covenant of Adam. The prophet to come has an important role in this. In the book of the prophet Zechariah, we see this theme continue. Zechariah and Haggai are the prophets of Second Temple Judaism. We are told in Ezra 5:1, "Now Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the prophet, a descendant of Iddo, prophesied to the Jews in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel, who was over them." In Zechariah 3:1-8 we read the following, "Then he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right side to accuse him. The Lord said to Satan, 'The Lord rebuke you, Satan. The Lord who has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is not this man a burning stick snatched from the fire?' Now Joshua was dressed in filthy clothes as he stood before the angel. The angel said to those who were standing before him, 'Take off his filthy clothes.' Then he said to Joshua, 'See, I have taken away your sin, and I will put fine garments on you.' Then I said, 'Put a clean turban on his head.' So they put a clean turban on his head and clothed him while the angels of the Lord stood by. The angel of the Lord gave this charge to Joshua. This is what the Lord Almighty says. If you will walk in obedience to me and keep my requirements, then you will govern my house and have charge of my courts, and I will give you a place among these standing here, that is, in heaven. Listen, High Priest Joshua, you and your associates seated before you, who are men symbolic of things to come. I'm going to bring my servant the branch. See, the stone I have set in front of Joshua. There are 7 eyes on that one stone, and I will engrave an inscription on it, says the Lord Almighty, and I will remove the sin of this land in a single day. Notice in particular the last paragraph here. Listen, High Priest Joshua, you and your associates seated before you, you are men symbolic of things to come. Not only is the newly appointed High Priest Joshua of Second Temple Judaism symbolic of things to come, but he is symbolic of Jesus himself. In Joshua we see a prefigurement of the prophet to come predicted in Deuteronomy, the one who will lead Israel up the mountain of spiritual enlightenment. He is called the branch, just as Joshua, his prefigurement, is called the branch later in Zechariah 6:12. He has 7 eyes, like the 7 eyes on the one stone. Those familiar with Jesus as a stone rejected by the builders couldn't see the clear overtones here. And through him, God says, I will remove the sin of this land in a single day. We are told in 4:7 that not by might nor by power but by spirit will this be accomplished. Joshua is designated as the one to build the temple. 6:12. He will hold not only the high priesthood but kingship, like Jesus, the high priest and the king of the heavenly kingdom. 6:11-14. And there will be harmony between the two. 6:13. And the word of the Lord came again to Zechariah. This is what the Lord Almighty said. Administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the foreigner or the poor. Do not plot evil against each other. 7:8-10. We are again told of the king to come, the one that Joshua prefigures, in 9:9-11. Rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. I will take away the chariots from Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. As for you, because of the blood of my covenant with you, I will free your prisoners from the waterless pit. And again in 10:3-5. My anger burns against the shepherds, and I will punish the leaders, for the Lord Almighty will care for his flock, the people of Judah, and make them like a proud horse in battle. For Judah will come the cornerstone, from him the tent peg, from him the battle bow, from him every ruler. Together they will be like warriors in battle, trampling their enemy into the mud of the streets. They will fight because the Lord is with them, and they will put the enemy horsemen to shame. This continues into 11:3, where we read, Listen to the wails of the shepherd, their rich pastures are destroyed. This is what the Lord my God says. Shepherd the flock marked for slaughter. Their buyers slaughter them and go unpunished. Those who sell them say, Praise the Lord, I am rich. their own shepherds do not spare them. For I will no longer have pity on the people of this land, declares the Lord. I'll give everyone into the hands of their neighbour and their king. They will devastate the land, and I will not rescue anyone from their hands. So I shepherded the flock marked for slaughter, particularly the oppressed of the flock. Then I took 2 staffs, and called one favour and the other union, and I shepherded the flock. In 1 month I got rid of the 3 shepherds. Then I took my staff, called favour, and broke it, revoked the covenant I'd made with all nations. It was revoked on that day, and so the oppressed of the flock who were watching me knew it was the word of the Lord. I told them, if you think it best, give me my pay, but if not, keep it. So they paid me 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said to me, throw it to the potter, the handsome price at which they valued me. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them to the potter at the house of the Lord. Then I broke my 2nd staff, called union, breaking the family bond between Judah and Israel. Then the Lord said to me, take again the equipment of a foolish shepherd, for I'm going to raise up a shepherd over the land who will not care for the lost, or seek the young, or heal the injured, or feed the healthy, but will eat the meat of the choice sheep, tearing off their hooves. 11:4-15. This narrative is brought to a head in 11:17. Woe to the worthless shepherd who deserts the flock. May the sword strike his arm and his right eye. May his arm be completely withered, his right eye totally blinded. This last passage predicts the judicial blindness of the later Jewish leadership at the time of the great prophet, King Messiah and or Christ. In Norse mythology, Woden gives up his right eye for knowledge and wisdom, and so loses his ability to see with 3 dimensions of moral thought. The arm is used to point and give commands. So in other words, we're told that the leaders of Jerusalem will not only lose their right vision, but their ability to command the people because they are worthless shepherds. In 12:10 we read, they will look on me, the one they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. On that day a fountain will be opened to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to cleanse them from sin and impurity. On that day I will banish the names of the idols from the land, and they will be remembered no more, declares the Lord Almighty. I'll remove both the prophets and the spirit of impurity from the land. On that day every prophet will be ashamed of their prophetic vision. They will not put on prophets garments of hair in order to deceive. 13:1-2 and verse 4. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. In the whole land, declares the Lord, 2/3 will be struck down and perish, yet 1/3 will be left in it. This third I will put into the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. 13:8-9. Zechariah's prophecies concerning the true high priest and king, who Joshua prefigures, are not happy thoughts for the leaders of Jerusalem. They tell of a high priest persecuted and killed and bound to be rejected by both the leadership and main body of believers and accepted only by a remnant. Indeed, Nehemiah's dedication of the temple in Nehemiah 9:1-38 begins with a prologue narrative of Israel's infidelities to God and ends with a solemn covenantal agreement. In Acts of the Apostles we meet 3 similar speeches. One is Stephen's before he is stoned to death on the charge that people have heard him say that this Jesus of Nazareth will destroy this place, that is the temple, and change the customs Moses has handed down to us. Acts 6:14. Stephen, interestingly, does not deny these charges, but solemnly invokes words reminiscent of the covenant preamble in Nehemiah. You stiff-necked people with uncircumcised hearts. This we find in Acts 7:51 and Nehemiah 9:16-18. Paul also makes a similar speech when he breaks with the Jews to go with the Gentiles at Pisidian Antioch, Acts 13:16-41. And again on the steps of the Antonia fortress connected to the temple, when he is taken into custody and eventually ends up being taken to Rome for trial, presented in Acts 21:39-22. Zechariah provides an important link in this ongoing narrative. It underscores Judaism, when properly understood, as a prophetic and messianic religious movement, ordained towards the restoration of the Adamic covenant and not the enumerative Mosaic Law. Indeed, we see in many of its prophecies allusions to what was to happen to Jesus. We hear of the one who will ride the colt of a donkey. We hear of the 30 pieces of silver, the price of his being betrayed, and that this will then be used to buy the potter's field. We also see allusions to the crucifixion on the cross, or refer to the Messiah who is to be rejected by Israel, and only a remnant will have eyes to see.